A wealthy CEO buys a charity wedding package on a dare, thinking it'll be a quick good news headline. But when the recipient steps forward at the small town center, he freezes. Because the woman is the one from his past he thought he'd lost. Now he's stuck between saving his company's deal and fixing the harm his firm once caused the town that raised her son. Secrets from a buried corporate memo and a reporter's questions threaten to ruin everything, and the woman he hurt refuses to be a charity photo op. Can a man with power and money truly atone? And will the town forgive him in time to keep the community and the woman he loves? The Grand Meridian Hotel's crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow across the ballroom, their light dancing off sequined gowns and polished cufflinks. Noah Blackwell adjusted his bow tie, more out of habit than necessity, as he observed the crowd from his strategic position near the auction stage. His Italian leather shoes barely made a sound against the marble floor as he shifted his weight, fighting the urge to check his watch again. These charity events all blurred together after a while. The same faces, the same forced laughter, the same careful dance of wealth and influence. Tonight's gala was just another box to check, another move to appease his board's concerns about public image. Yet something about the warmth in the room tugged at him differently tonight. A waiter passed with a tray of champagne, and Noah accepted a glass more for something to do with his hands than any real desire to drink. The bubbles caught the light like tiny stars as he studied the auction catalogue for the 100th time. Item number 47. He murmured to himself, running a finger down the glossy page. The Dream Wedding Package, complete with venue, catering, flowers, and all the trimmings at the historic Rose Gardens. All proceeds to benefit the O'Connor Community Centre's youth programs. The auctioneer, a distinguished gentleman with silver hair and a voice that could charm birds from trees, took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll please take your seats, we're about to begin our final auction item of the evening. Noah remained standing, his tall frame allowing him to see over the settling crowd. He noticed several society wives nudging their unmarried daughters, and his jaw tightened imperceptibly. At 50, he'd long since grown weary of being viewed as the city's most eligible bachelor. Our grand finale tonight is truly spectacular, the auctioneer announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the ballroom. A complete luxury wedding package at the renowned Rose Gardens, valued at over $50,000. This package includes everything needed for the perfect celebration of love, and more importantly, your generous bids will help keep the doors open at the O'Connor Community Centre, a vital resource for our city's youth. Noah's attention caught on the mention of the community centre. He'd read the briefing papers. The centre was struggling, like many such places in the wake of recent economic downturns. The name O'Connor sparked something in his memory, a niggling reminder of past decisions he'd rather forget. Shall we start the bidding at $20,000? Several paddles rose immediately. Noah watched the numbers climb, his businessman's mind automatically calculating the PR value versus the cost. 30,000, 40,000. The crowd's excitement built with each bid, camera flashes punctuating the moment like lightning in a storm. 45,000, do I hear 50? Without conscious thought, Noah's hand raised his paddle. $100,000, he stated, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. The room fell silent for a heartbeat before erupting in whispers and the rapid-fire clicks of cameras. The auctioneer's eyebrows shot up, but he recovered quickly. $100,000 from Mr. Noah Blackwell. Do I hear any other bids? He paused dramatically, scanning the room. Going once, going twice. Noah stood perfectly still, his expression neutral despite the spotlight of attention. What had possessed him to bid double the previous offer? He was single, with no wedding plans in sight. The PR boost would be substantial, yes, but this felt different, more personal somehow. Sold to Mr. Noah Blackwell for $100,000. Applause thundered through the ballroom. Camera flashes intensified, and Noah maintained his carefully composed smile while his mind raced. He'd just spent a small fortune on a wedding package he had no use for, all because… What? Because something about that community center's name wouldn't let him rest? 20 minutes later, Noah slipped away from the continuing celebrations, a small cream-colored envelope containing his auction confirmation tucked into his tuxedo jacket pocket. The envelope felt heavier than its physical weight warranted, as if it contained more than just paper, perhaps a chance at something he couldn't yet name. The hotel's marble corridors echoed with his solitary footsteps as he made his way toward the parking garage. Behind him, the sounds of the gala's after-party drifted through the halls. Laughter, music, the clink of glasses. The contrast between the warmth of the crowd and his solitary departure wasn't lost on him. The night air held an autumn crispness as Noah emerged from the hotel's side entrance, preferring to avoid the main doors where photographers might still be lingering. His driver would be waiting with the car, and then he could finally read through the details of what exactly he'd impulsively purchased. A few early fallen leaves skittered across the pavement, their rustle barely audible over the distant city sounds. Noah's hand unconsciously pressed against his jacket, feeling the envelope through the fine wool. He'd attended hundreds of charity events over the years, written countless checks for good causes, but something about tonight felt different. This wasn't just another tax write-off or PR move. He'd bought more than a headline this time, though he wasn't quite ready to examine why. The city lights blurred past the car window as Noah's driver navigated the late-night streets toward his penthouse. He turned the cream envelope over in his hands, the auction house's gold-embossed logo catching the passing streetlights. "Home in 10 minutes, Mr. Blackwell," his driver announced. Noah nodded, breaking the envelope's seal. Inside was a glossy brochure with "The Bride Nobody Wanted" printed in elegant script across the top. His brow furrowed at the peculiar name as he began to read. The program, he learned, was the brainchild of Maeve O'Connor, director of the struggling community center. Local matriarchs nominated deserving women who'd faced hardship, single mothers putting themselves through school, widows rebuilding their lives, women who'd overcome addiction or abuse. The chosen recipient would receive not just the wedding package, but a whole community's support in starting fresh. "Practical," Noah murmured, already seeing the corporate angles. His company's charitable foundation could expand this model to other communities. The PR would be excellent. Human interest stories practically wrote themselves. But something about that phrase, "the bride nobody wanted," caught in his chest like a splinter. When they reached his building, Noah took the private elevator to the top floor. The penthouse was dark, except for the city glow through floor-to-ceiling windows. He didn't bother with the lights, knowing every inch of the space by heart. At the kitchen island, he spread out the brochure under the pendant lights, reaching for the scotch he kept in the cabinet above. The program details were straightforward enough. The wedding would be held at Rose Gardens, a historic venue in the coastal town of Milton Bay. The recipient would be announced at a town gathering next week. Press would be welcome. Of course, they'd want coverage of the $100,000 donor. Noah's gaze drifted to his office shelves, where a worn leather portfolio sat among the business awards and family photos. He hadn't opened it in years, but he knew exactly what was inside. A letter he'd never sent, written on hotel stationery 15 years ago. The scotch burned pleasantly as he crossed to the shelf, pulling down the portfolio. The leather was soft with age, the pages inside yellowed. A photograph slipped free, a much younger version of himself on a beach, arm around a woman with wild red hair. Her smile was radiant, unguarded. Behind them, Milton Bay's lighthouse stood stark against a summer sky. The memory hit like a wave. Salt air, the cry of gulls, her laugh carrying on the wind. Sarah. They'd spent that whole summer together while he was overseeing a development project. She'd shown him every hidden corner of Milton Bay, every secret beach and tucked-away cafe. He'd fallen hard and fast, thinking maybe he'd found something real amid his rise to corporate success, until the project changed, until the board demanded bigger profits, until he'd had to choose between his ambitions and the town's wishes, until Sarah had looked at him with eyes that no longer held warmth. Noah shut the portfolio with more force than necessary, returning it to its shelf. That was 15 years ago. Ancient history. He was different now, wiser, more established. The 100,000 he'd spent tonight was proof he could do real good for communities like Milton Bay. He returned to the kitchen island, pulling out his phone to text his assistant. Schedule press arrival in Milton Bay tomorrow, 9 a.m. Have car service to morning train arranged. The response came quickly. Confirmed. Car will collect you at 7 a.m. for 7:30 train. Will alert local press of your arrival to discuss the donation. It would be a controlled visit. Shake some hands, meet the recipient, get photos for the press release. In and out. No need to linger in a town full of old ghosts. Noah poured another finger of scotch, scanning the brochure again. The program's mission statement caught his eye. Every love story deserves a second chance. He snorted softly. The irony wasn't lost on him, a man who'd walked away from love, now funding dream weddings for others. But this was business, he told himself. Corporate responsibility. Nothing more. His phone buzzed again. His assistant had sent the next day's revised schedule. The train journey would take just over an hour. He'd meet with local press, tour the community center, attend the recipient announcement, and be back in the city for an afternoon board meeting. Simple, professional, brief. Noah glanced at his watch. Nearly 1 a.m. He needed to be up in 5 hours. Gathering the brochure and his phone, he headed toward his bedroom, leaving the scotch glass in the sink. The city stretched out below his windows, a galaxy of lights twinkling in the darkness. Somewhere out there, along the coast, Milton Bay was sleeping. Tomorrow he'd return for the first time in 15 years, telling himself it was just another business obligation. As he set his alarm, his assistant sent one final text. Local paper already running story about mystery CEO's generous bid, expecting significant turnout tomorrow. Noah put the phone face down on his nightstand. 5 hours until the train. He needed sleep, needed to be sharp for the press. But as he lay in the dark, he couldn't shake the echo of that phrase, the bride nobody wanted, or the memory of red hair flying in a summer breeze. The morning sun streamed through the shop windows, casting golden light across mason jars filled with dahlias and late-season roses. Lily Selina Hart breathed in deeply, savoring the mix of floral perfume and salty air drifting in from the bay. At 6:30, Milton Bay was just beginning to stir. She adjusted her apron and checked her watch. Still time to finish these arrangements before dropping Sammy at school. Her fingers moved swiftly, weaving together burgundy dahlias and cream roses, adding sprigs of eucalyptus for texture. The weekend market was her busiest time, and she needed everything perfect. "Mom, have you seen my science folder?" Sammy's voice carried down from their apartment above the shop. "Check the kitchen table, honey," she called back, smiling at the sound of his footsteps thundering overhead. At 8 years old, Sammy never seemed to walk anywhere. Always running. Always in a hurry. The bell above the shop door chimed, and Maeve O'Connor stepped in, carrying 2 paper cups of coffee from the cafe next door. "You're here early," Lily said, accepting the offered cup gratefully. "Had to catch you before your morning rush." Maeve settled onto the wooden stool behind the counter, pulling an envelope from her bag. And before you could think up more excuses. Lily's hand stilled over the flowers. She knew that envelope, the community center's letterhead, was unmistakable. Maeve, just read it, dear. Maeve's tone was gentle but firm, the kind of voice that had guided generations of Milton Bay residents through tough decisions. Upstairs, Sammy's footsteps thundered again. "Found it. 5 minutes, sweetie," Lily called back, then turned to Maeve. "I told you I can't accept charity. The center needs that wedding package more than I do. The center needs you to accept it." Maeve pushed the envelope closer. "Read the nomination letter, please." Lily wiped her hands on her apron and opened the envelope, recognizing Maeve's neat handwriting. "The Bride Nobody Wanted program asks us to nominate someone who deserves a second chance at joy. I nominate Lily Selina Hart, who has given everything to our community while asking nothing in return. Single mother to Sammy, small business owner, volunteer coordinator for our center's youth programs, Lily embodies the spirit of Milton Bay. When others left during hard times, she stayed, building a life of dignity and purpose. The wedding package would not only honor her resilience, but would directly benefit our community center through the associated publicity and donations." Lily set the letter down, her throat tight. "Maeve, I appreciate this, but— Mom, I'm ready!" Sammy bounded down the shop stairs, backpack bouncing. His face lit up. "Hi, Miss Maeve." "Good morning, sunshine." Maeve ruffled his hair. "Ready for that science test?" "Yep, Mom helped me study all about ecosystems last night." Lily gathered her keys and purse, grateful for the interruption. "We need to head out now, Maeve. We can talk about this later." "The presentation is at 3, Maeve said, standing. "The donor will be there. Big city CEO who bought the package at auction. Press, too." Lily's stomach tightened. "Press? Just local papers." Maeve's eyes softened. "Lily, think what this could mean for the center, for Sammy's after-school programs. We need this kind of attention to keep our doors open." Sammy looked between them, curiosity bright in his eyes. "What presentation?" "Nothing decided yet, honey." Lily squeezed his shoulder. "Car time. You've got that test to ace." After dropping Sammy at school, Lily returned to find Maeve still in the shop, arranging stems in buckets. The morning sun had climbed higher, warming the wooden floors and making the ribbon spools shimmer. "You know I hate being in the spotlight," Lily said quietly, picking up her pruning shears. "I know." Maeve moved to help her sort roses. "But sometimes we do hard things for the greater good. The center needs this, Lily. We're barely keeping the youth programs running." Lily thought of Sammy's art classes at the center, the safe space it provided for working parents' kids. She thought of the leaking roof, the outdated computers, the heating bill they struggled to pay each winter. "It would just be a small presentation," Maeve continued. "Simple announcement, few photos. The donor makes his appearance, we get some good press, and the center benefits." Lily's hands moved automatically, stripping thorns from roses. "No big spectacle?" "Promise, just a quiet gathering at the center. I'll need you to make up something simple. Seasonal flowers for the announcement table." The morning light caught the silver in Maeve's hair, reminding Lily how long this woman had been fighting to keep the center's doors open. How many children, including Sammy, had found safety and purpose within those walls. "All right," Lily said softly. "For the center. For Sammy." Maeve's smile was warm as sunrise. 3 o'clock. I'll handle everything else." Through the morning, Lily filled orders and prepared for the weekend market. Her mind kept drifting to the presentation. A simple arrangement, she decided. Autumn dahlias, garden roses, maybe some local wildflowers. Nothing too showy. By noon, she had 3 buckets of fresh-cut flowers ready. The nomination letter sat on her counter, Maeve's words echoing, "Deserves a second chance at joy." Joy felt like a foreign concept some days. She'd built a life here, a good one, centered on Sammy and her shop and the community. But joy, that belonged to a younger version of herself, one who still believed in summer romances and happy endings. The shop bell chimed as another customer entered. Lily straightened her apron and pushed away thoughts of the afternoon ahead. She had orders to fill, flowers to arrange, a business to run. The presentation was hours away, and there was work to be done. She glanced at her watch, just past noon. 3 hours until everything changed, though she didn't know it yet. The community center's main room held the warmth of countless gatherings, despite its worn edges. Afternoon light filtered through dusty windows, catching the faded youth art show banner that had hung since spring. Mismatched folding, chairs lined up in neat rows, their metal frames showing spots of rust. Near the back wall, an ancient coffee urn gurgled, its familiar scent mixing with the mustiness of old books from the reading corner. Danny Ruiz worked efficiently, setting out more chairs as people began arriving. He'd already done his best to spruce things up, patched a crack in the wall, replaced a few burnt-out bulbs, but the center's age showed through like laugh lines on a beloved face. "Need any help?" Maeve asked, straightening a stack of programs. "Almost done." Danny adjusted the last row. "Though that heating vent's making that rattle again." "Add it to the list." Maeve sighed, touching the wall with familiar affection. The room filled gradually with familiar faces. Mrs. Peterson from the library settled in front, her silver hair precisely arranged. The Martinez sisters, who taught weekend art classes, whispered together near the coffee station. A few curious neighbors drifted in, drawn by the unusual presence of news cameras being set up. Lily arrived early, placing her flower arrangement on the presentation table. She'd chosen deep orange dahlias, burgundy garden roses, and sprays of local goldenrod, autumn colors that complemented the center's faded warmth. Her hands shook slightly as she adjusted the stems, but her face remained composed. "Beautiful work," Maeve murmured, squeezing her shoulder. At precisely 3 o'clock, a sleek black car pulled up outside. The local press, 2 photographers and a reporter from the Milton Bay Gazette, straightened their equipment. Noah Blackwell entered with measured steps, followed by an assistant and what appeared to be a PR representative. His tailored charcoal suit and polished Oxford shoes seemed to absorb the fluorescent lighting differently than the worn linoleum floor. Danny caught Lily's eye and raised an eyebrow. She gave a small shrug in response, both of them noting the contrast between the visitors' cultured presence and their familiar, shabby space. Maeve stepped forward to greet Noah, her practical blazer and comfortable shoes marking her as the center's steady guardian. "Mr. Blackwell, welcome to Milton Bay Community Center. We're so grateful for your support." Noah's handshake was professional, his smile camera-ready. "The pleasure's mine, Miss O'Connor. Your program's reputation is impressive." The cameras clicked as they exchanged pleasantries. Lily stayed near the back, half hidden behind her flower arrangement, watching the practiced choreography of a public relations moment unfold. Maeve guided everyone to their seats, then took her place at the podium. Really just a music stand they'd dressed up with a cloth. "Good afternoon, everyone. We're here today to celebrate something special." Her voice carried warmth and authority as she explained the dream wedding package and its significance to the center. Noah sat in the front row, his posture perfect, occasionally nodding at appropriate moments. "This year's recipient," Maeve continued, "is someone who exemplifies the spirit of our community. A small business owner, dedicated mother, and tireless volunteer." Lily's hands gripped her skirt under the table. She forced them to relax. "Please welcome Lily Selina Hart." The room's gentle applause felt thunderous in Lily's ears as she stood. She focused on keeping her steps steady, her chin level, as she moved to join Maeve at the podium. Noah's reaction was instant and electric. His body went rigid, the polished veneer cracking as recognition hit him like a physical blow. It wasn't just her name, it was everything about her. The graceful way she moved, the slight tilt of her head, that unconscious gesture as she tucked a wayward strand of hair behind her ear, exactly as she had that last summer evening 15 years ago. Lily felt his stare but didn't falter. She'd had years of practice maintaining composure through difficult moments. If her fingers trembled slightly as she accepted the envelope from Maeve, only those who knew her best would notice. "Thank you," she said into the microphone, her voice steady. "I'm honored to accept this generous gift on behalf of the center. The programs here have meant so much to my son and many other children in our community." The cameras flashed. Lily stood straight, enduring the attention, reminding herself why she'd agreed to this. For the center. For Sammy. For Maeve. "Ms. Hart, could we get a photo with you and Mr. Blackwell?" The Gazette reporter called out. Maeve glanced between them, something shifting in her expression. But before she could intervene, Noah was already standing, moving toward the podium with mechanical precision. They stood side by side, not touching, maintaining professional smiles as the cameras clicked. But the space between them crackled with unspoken history. Noah's cologne, expensive, subtle, brought back memories of salt air and summer stars. Lily's presence beside him made Noah's carefully constructed world feel suddenly hollow. Their eyes met briefly as the photos ended. In that moment, 15 years compressed into a heartbeat. Lily saw flashes of a younger Noah, laughing on a beach, making promises neither of them had kept. Noah saw the girl who'd taught him about simple joys before ambition and family expectations had pulled him away. The connection broke as quickly as it formed. Lily stepped back, nodding politely to the cameras. Noah retreated to his previous position, his face a mask of professional interest. The presentation concluded with Maeve's closing remarks about the center's upcoming needs. People began standing, moving toward the coffee and cookies set out on a side table. The normal rhythm of community life reasserted itself, Mrs. Peterson discussing library funding with the Martinez sisters, Danny making notes about that rattling heating vent. By 4:15, the cameras were packed away, and the crowd was thinning. Lily gathered, her purse, thinking of the wedding bouquet waiting to be finished at her shop. She had orders to complete, a business to run. She couldn't afford to let old memories derail her careful routines. But as she left through the side door, she felt Noah's gaze following her, heavy with questions neither of them was ready to ask. The community center quieted as volunteers stacked the folding chairs. Noah found Maeve in the back room, surrounded by handmade quilts hanging from clotheslines, a makeshift art gallery of community craftsmanship. A small brass plaque caught his eye. "In memory of those who built this place with love." "Mr. Blackwell," Maeve said, not looking up from her paperwork. "I wondered when you'd come asking." He settled into a worn armchair, its cushions molded by years of similar conversations. "I need to understand something, Ms. O'Connor." "Maeve," she corrected, finally meeting his gaze. "And I suspect you understand more than you're letting on." The evening light filtered through the quilts, creating patterns across the linoleum floor. Noah loosened his tie, a rare gesture of informality. "Tell me about Lily." Maeve's eyes narrowed, assessing him. "She came back to us about 8 years ago, single, pregnant, and holding her head high despite everything. Opened that flower shop with nothing but determination and a borrowed greenhouse." Noah's fingers tightened on the armrest. The father. Not in the picture. Maeve's tone carried a warning. Sammy's got all the family he needs right here. The room felt suddenly warmer, closer. Noah shifted in his seat. The town supported her. We take care of our own. Maeve sorted through some donation receipts, her movements deliberate. When someone's hurting, you don't just throw money at them and call it fixed. You show up. You stay. You prove they can count on you. The words landed like stones in still water. Noah stared at his reflection in the window, seeing instead a younger version of himself making different choices. What does she need now? He asked quietly. Maeve set down her papers. What Lily needs is her dignity. She's not a charity case or a PR opportunity. She's a mother who works 60-hour weeks to keep her son in art classes and soccer. She's the one who delivers free bouquets to the nursing home every Sunday. Maeve paused, choosing her words carefully. She's someone who deserves more than grand gestures. Across town, Lily was locking up her shop. Evening Blooms. The bell chimed one last time as she checked the register and straightened the ribbon display. Tomorrow's orders were prepped in the cooler, 3 sympathy arrangements, a birthday bouquet, and Mrs. Davidson's weekly roses. "Mom!" Sammy called from the back room where he'd been doing homework. "Can we have tomato soup tonight? With grilled cheese?" Lily smiled, gathering her keys. "Yes, please." He packed up his books, careful with the new backpack she'd saved 3 months to buy him. Their evening routine unfolded in their small apartment above the shop. Soup warming on the stove, multiplication tables reviewed between bites, Sammy's excited chatter about his science project. Lily listened, adding encouraging comments while mentally calculating next week's inventory orders. "Can you read me another chapter?" Sammy asked as she tucked him in, his dark hair still damp from his bath. "1 chapter." Lily agreed, settling beside him with their worn copy of Bridge to Terabithia. Her voice softened as she read, painting pictures of friendship and courage. Outside, Noah stood in the shadow of an oak tree, watching the warm light from Sammy's window. He'd followed at a distance after leaving the center, drawn by an impulse he couldn't name. The sight of Lily's silhouette moving past the window, her head bent close to her son's, made his chest ache. He should go up, explain, apologize. The words sat heavy in his throat. "I'm sorry, I was young, I was afraid, I chose wrong." But watching this peaceful scene, this life she'd built without him, Noah felt the weight of his shame. Any interruption now would be selfish, another disruption she didn't ask for. His presence would only reopen old wounds. The hotel room felt sterile after the warmth of the center and the glimpse of Lily's home. Noah loosened his tie completely, tossing it over a chair as he opened his laptop. His assistant had already sent tomorrow's revised schedule, full of video calls and board meetings. He typed quickly. 9 a.m., community center volunteer work, no press. Then he added, cancel afternoon meetings, extending stay. The cursor blinked at him like a question mark. Noah closed the laptop, moved to the window. Below, the small town was settling into evening. Porch lights coming on, dogs being walked, the last customers leaving the diner on the corner. Somewhere out there, Lily was probably finishing that bedtime story, planning tomorrow's deliveries, carrying on with the life she'd made. He pulled out his phone, scrolled to Maeve's number from the press packet. Typed, "I'll be there at 9. Put me to work." The reply came quickly. "Bring work gloves. The garden needs weeding." Noah set an early alarm, knowing sleep would be elusive. Tomorrow he'd show up, stay, prove something, though he wasn't sure yet what or to whom. The night settled around him, carrying the distant sound of waves and the scent of salt air through the open window. the same breeze that had sparked promises all those years ago. Promises that now needed more than words to make right. Noah arrived at the community center as dawn's pink light still clung to the horizon. He'd swapped his usual suit for khakis and a navy sweater, the casual clothes feeling foreign against his skin. In one hand, he clutched a paper-wrapped bouquet of simple daisies and sunflowers. In the other, he balanced 2 canvas totes filled with cleaning supplies. All new, their price tags hastily removed. The center's screen door creaked as he entered. Inside, the morning light filtered through dusty windows, catching motes that danced in the air. The smell of coffee and pine-scented cleaner mingled with the mustiness of old books. Lily stood at a folding table, sorting craft supplies into plastic bins. She wore jeans and a faded blue t-shirt with the center's logo, her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. When she looked up, her expression remained carefully neutral. "Good morning," Noah said, his voice carrying an unfamiliar uncertainty. He set down the totes and extended the bouquet. "For the volunteers. And this—" He pulled out an envelope, thick with a donation check. "Thank you." Lily's tone was polite, but distant as she accepted both. She placed the flowers in a chipped ceramic vase, her movements precise and measured. The envelope disappeared into a drawer without being opened. Noah shifted his weight, hands suddenly empty and useless. "The center looks the same," Lily supplied, a hint of challenge in her voice. "Well loved," he finished carefully. A flicker of surprise crossed her face before she masked it. "We make do with what we have." Danny emerged from the supply closet, carrying paint cans and rollers. His worn Red Sox cap and paint-splattered jeans marked him as a regular volunteer. He gave Noah an appraising look. "So you're our CEO turned handyman for the day?" Danny's tone was light but testing. "Ever painted anything besides quarterly projections?" "I helped paint a fence once," Noah offered. The memory slipped out before he could catch it. "Down by Miller's Cove, summer of 2002. Lily cut in, her voice carrying the weight of years. "I remember. You got more paint on yourself than the fence." The moment hung between them, heavy with unspoken history. Danny cleared his throat. "Well, the bench outside needs a fresh coat. Blue paint's in the can, rollers are there. Try to keep most of it on the wood this time." He winked at Lily, who had already turned back to her craft supplies. Noah carried the supplies outside, rolling up his sleeves. The wooden bench was weathered, its paint peeling in long strips. He started scraping, the repetitive motion oddly soothing despite his awkwardness with the tool. Inside, he could hear Lily directing other volunteers, her voice warm as she explained the day's children's craft project. The scratch of his scraper provided percussion to the morning's rhythm, coffee brewing, chairs scraping, Danny's radio playing oldies from somewhere inside. The sun climbed higher as Noah worked, sweat dampening his collar. Paint flecks dotted his careful outfit, and his hands developed their first blisters. When he finally opened the paint can, the rich smell of fresh paint filled his nose. His first attempts with the roller were uneven, leaving drips and bare spots. He frowned, trying to remember the technique from that long-ago summer day. Back then, Lily had guided his hands, laughing at his city boy clumsiness. "You're pressing too hard," came her voice, unexpected and close. Noah startled, nearly dropping the roller. Lily stood in the doorway, watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. "The roller does the work," she continued, demonstrating with a spare brush on the bench's end. "Like this. Let it glide." Noah adjusted his grip, mimicking her motion. The paint went on smoother, more even. "Thank you," he said quietly. Lily nodded, starting to turn away. Then she paused, looking at the blue smudge on his cheek. The corner of her mouth twitched, almost forming a smile. "Some things never change," she murmured, and for a moment the wall between them thinned. The morning mellowed into afternoon. Noah's muscles protested the unfamiliar work, but he kept at it, determined to finish the bench properly. Inside, he could hear children arriving for the craft session, their excited voices mixing with Lily's patient instructions. He watched through the window as she helped small hands with scissors and glue, her gentleness with them revealing a side of her he'd never known. She seemed most herself here, surrounded by construction paper hearts and glitter glue, teaching kindness through simple acts. The bench slowly transformed under Noah's careful strokes. His technique improved, though his clothes were probably ruined. Every so often, he caught Lily glancing his way, her expression thoughtful. Danny appeared with water and sandwiches around noon. "Not bad for a beginner," he admitted, inspecting Noah's work. "Though you might want to stick to your day job." "Is that an option?" Noah asked wryly, accepting the water with grateful hands. "Depends," Danny said, his casual tone carrying weight. "On why you're really here." Before Noah could respond, Lily appeared in the doorway again. "I need to leave at 3:30 for school pickup," she announced to Danny, deliberately not looking at Noah. But as she turned to go back inside, he saw it again. That ghost of a smile, sparked by the sight of his paint-spattered attempt at humble labor. The afternoon light softened, and Noah kept working, letting the rhythm of the roller and the distant sounds of children's laughter fill the spaces where words used to be. Each stroke felt like a small act of penance, a beginning of something he wasn't yet sure how to name. The afternoon light slanted through the community center's windows as Noah helped Danny hang fundraising posters. His suit jacket lay discarded, sleeves rolled to his elbows, tie loosened, looking less like a CEO with each passing hour. "Higher on the left," Danny directed, squinting at the banner. "These seasonal fundraisers keep our lights on." Noah paused, an idea forming. What if we set up an online donation portal, something simple, linked to social media? Maeve appeared in the doorway, her eyes sharp with interest. "You know about such things?" "I could have it running by dinner," Noah offered. "Small scale, transparent. The community controls the funds." Maeve studied him, then nodded. "Do it, but no corporate branding. This stays grassroots." The afternoon program began, filling the center with children's voices. Sammy burst in, backpack bouncing, making a beeline for the reading corner. Noah watched as the boy settled cross-legged with a book about dinosaurs. "That's his favorite spot," Lily said quietly, appearing beside Noah. "He comes straight here after school while I finish at the shop." Noah hesitated, then moved toward the reading area. "Mind if I join you?" he asked Sammy. The boy looked up, curious. "Do you know about velociraptors?" "Not much," Noah admitted, sitting down. "But I'd like to learn." Sammy's face lit up. "They're pack hunters, and really smart, like in this picture." He scooted closer, showing Noah the illustration. For the next hour, Noah listened as Sammy explained dinosaur facts, asking questions that made the boy beam. They moved from books to drawing, Sammy teaching Noah how to sketch a proper T-Rex. Lily watched from the craft table, something complicated moving across her face. The scene before her, Noah's patient attention, Sammy's eager sharing, stirred memories she'd tried to forget. A flash came unbidden. A warm summer night, salt air and carnival lights from the pier. She and Noah, barely 20, sharing cotton candy and impossible dreams. "We'll see the world," he'd promised, his fingers linked with hers. "Build something amazing together." The memory stung with the sweetness of what could have been. When Sammy mentioned wanting to make something for the center's table, Noah suggested flowers. They walked to Lily's shop, just closing, and she found herself letting them in. Sammy proudly showed Noah how to choose blooms, mimicking his mother's careful handling. "Yellow's for friendship," Sammy declared, selecting daisies. "And purple's for—" "Mum, what's purple for?" "Dignity," Lily answered softly, watching Noah's gentle guidance of her son's hands as they arranged stems in a mason jar. The setting sun painted the shop in amber light when Sammy went to the back room to find ribbon. Lily turned to Noah, her voice low but steady. "Why are you really here, Noah, beyond the PR and the charity package?" Noah set down the flower he'd been holding, meeting her gaze. "I told myself it was business," he began, then stopped, running a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made her heart catch. "But seeing you yesterday, I've carried what happened for 15 years. The choices I made, what they cost you, cost this town. And now I want to make amends, not just write checks or generate headlines, real amends." His voice roughened. "I know it might be too late." Lily touched a daisy petal, considering. "Words are easy, Noah. This town needs actions, not promises." "I know." He hesitated. "Let me keep volunteering. Twice a week, I'll help however I can. The children's program could use another reader," she said finally. "Sammy's group meets Tuesdays and Thursdays." "I'll be here." Sammy returned with purple ribbon, proudly showing his choice. Together, they finished the bouquet, yellow for new beginnings, purple for the dignity of second chances. The simple arrangement sat between them like a bridge, fragile but real. As they locked up the shop, the evening air carried hints of autumn. Sammy chatted about next week's dinosaur project, while Noah and Lily walked slightly behind, their steps falling into an old rhythm. "He's remarkable," Noah said quietly. "You've done an amazing job with him." "He makes it easy," Lily replied. "He has a gift for seeing the good in people. Like his mother used to." The words hung in the twilight between them. Lily adjusted her bag, choosing her response carefully. "People earn trust back slowly, Noah, through small things, daily things." "I understand." He checked his watch reluctantly. "I should go, but I'll be back Tuesday." Lily nodded, her hand on Sammy's shoulder. "Tuesday. The reading program starts at 4. They watched Noah walk toward his hotel, his silhouette softening in the gathering dusk. Sammy waved until Noah turned the corner, then looked up at his mother. "He's not very good at drawing dinosaurs," the boy observed. "But he tries hard." Lily smiled, squeezing his shoulder. "Yes, he does." The walk home was quiet, filled with the sound of crickets and distant waves. Lily thought about trust and time, about how healing sometimes comes through simple acts, hanging posters, reading stories, arranging flowers with careful hands. In her shop window, the small bouquet caught the last light, yellow and purple, friendship and dignity, a beginning told in the language of flowers. 3 days had settled into a tentative rhythm at the community center. Noah arrived promptly at 10, laptop tucked under his arm, his suit exchanged for casual slacks and a light sweater. The morning light streamed through the windows, catching dust motes as volunteers bustled about with coffee and day-old pastries. "The books are a mess," he muttered, fingers tapping through spreadsheets while Lily leaned over his shoulder. Her presence, the faint scent of roses that seemed to follow her everywhere, made it hard to focus. "We do our best," she replied, a hint of defensiveness in her tone. "Not everyone has an MBA from Harvard." Noah glanced up, catching the mix of challenge and humor in her eyes. "Sorry, I meant these numbers could work harder for you. Look here." He pointed to a column. With proper allocation and some matching donors, we could triple the impact. They spent the morning building a fundraising framework, their heads bent together over budget papers. The familiar cadence of their interaction, her practical insight, his strategic thinking, felt like muscle memory. A craft fair, Lily said suddenly, straightening. The town's artisans would participate, especially if we time it with the autumn festival. Noah nodded, already calculating. We could set up on the boardwalk. I know some regional vendors who'd come if we... His phone buzzed, the screen lighting up with an encrypted message from his assistant. Urgent board briefing update. Coastal development proposal requires immediate review. Parcel 247 adjacent to community center. He switched the phone face down, but not before Lily caught his expression. Everything okay? Just work, he said quickly, too quickly. Tell me more about the local vendors. They mapped out the fair logistics. Booths along the boardwalk, live music from local bands, children's activities. Lily's expertise with the community complemented Noah's business acumen, though tensions flared occasionally. We can't charge that much for booth space, Lily insisted when Noah suggested premium rates. These are our neighbors, not corporations. But if we... Noah stopped, recognizing the steel in her voice. You're right. We'll adjust. By afternoon, they had a workable plan. Noah watched Lily coordinate with volunteers, her quiet authority drawing people in. She'd always had that gift, making others feel heard, valued. During a lull, they found themselves alone in the supply room, sorting through craft materials. The small space felt intimate, crowded with shared history. I've been meaning to tell you, Noah said, his voice low. About that night on Miller's Cliff. Lily's hand stilled on a box of markers. Noah, please, I need to say this. He set down the construction paper he'd been holding. I made the wrong choice that night. When you said the development project would hurt the town, I didn't listen. I chose ambition over us, over what was right. You chose your father's approval. Lily corrected gently. I remember your words exactly. This is my chance to prove myself. I remember you standing there in the moonlight, telling me the project would destroy local businesses. Noah's voice roughened. You were right. The mall complex failed within 2 years. But by then I was already pregnant with Sammy, trying to keep my parents' flower shop alive. Lily met his gaze steadily. While you were climbing the corporate ladder in Boston. The truth of it hung between them, sharp and necessary. I didn't know about Sammy then, Noah said quietly. If I had, would it have changed anything? Noah considered this, remembering his younger self's burning ambition. I want to say yes, but I was different then. Harder, more certain I knew best. Lily nodded, understanding in her eyes. We both were young, but I lost more than a boyfriend that night, Noah. I lost trust in promises, in grand gestures. And now? He gestured to the fundraising plans spread across the table. Now. Lily picked up a bright yellow marker, turning it in her hands. Now I believe in small actions, daily choices. Those mean more than any promise. The afternoon sun slanted through the supply room window, painting everything in warm light. Outside, they could hear Sammy's voice mixing with other children's laughter from the after-school program. 4 days until the fundraiser, Lily said, returning to practical matters. We'll need to start setup Friday night. I'll be here, Noah promised, then caught himself. If you want. Lily's smile was small but real. Yes, the heavy lifting will go faster with help. They emerged from the supply room to find Maeve directing volunteers, her silver hair catching the light. She gave them a knowing look, but said nothing, handing them both clipboards with vendor applications. As they worked through the paperwork, Noah felt the weight of his phone in his pocket, the board briefing like a stone he couldn't acknowledge. For now, he focused on Lily's neat handwriting filling the forms, on Sammy's distant laughter, on the way the community center hummed with possibility. The truce between them was fragile, built on small moments, shared coffee, quiet conversations, the careful way they navigated around old wounds. But it was real, rooted in the present rather than promises. When evening came, they had a solid plan for Saturday's fair. Local artists were already calling to reserve spaces, and Maeve had arranged for the high school band to perform. "One day at a time," Lily said as they packed up, echoing words that had become their unspoken agreement. Noah nodded, watching her gather her things. In the soft evening light, she looked both familiar and new. The girl he'd loved, the woman he'd wronged, and someone else entirely. Stronger, more grounded, real in a way his memories couldn't capture. Saturday's fair loomed ahead, a test of their careful collaboration. For now they had spreadsheets and vendor lists, practical tasks that built trust in small increments, like stones placed one by one across a stream. The autumn sun warmed the community center's lawn, where colorful canopies dotted the grass like a patchwork quilt. Children darted between stalls selling homemade pies, jams, and local crafts. The high school band had set up near the oak tree, their acoustic guitars and tambourines adding a gentle backdrop to the cheerful chaos. Noah stood at his donation station, a neat table with a laptop displaying real-time matching contributions. He'd kept his promise. For every dollar raised, Blackwell Industries would match it. Watching the numbers climb brought a satisfaction he hadn't expected. "Mr. Blackwell." Sammy waved from the face-painting booth, his cheeks decorated with orange and black stripes. "Look, I'm a tiger." Noah grinned, giving the boy a thumbs up. Nearby, Lily arranged fresh flowers at her stall, her movements precise and practiced. She'd been up since dawn, preparing bouquets that now perfumed the air with late-season roses and chrysanthemums. "The turnout's remarkable," Maeve said, appearing at Noah's elbow with a cup of coffee. She handed it to him, her eyes twinkling. "Though I suspect having a CEO manning the donation table helped spread the word." "The town did this?" Noah replied, accepting the coffee. "I just provided some infrastructure." Danny Ruiz passed by with a tray of his mother's empanadas, the pastries still steaming. "These are selling faster than we can make them," he reported cheerfully. "Mrs. O'Connor, we might need more dough." Maeve hurried off to help, leaving Noah to process another wave of donations. He'd simplified the system, making it easy for people to contribute via phone or card. The running total displayed prominently, $15,227 and climbing. Around 3 o'clock, a woman with a press badge approached his table. "Sarah Chen, Coast County Register." She introduced herself, notebook in hand. "Mind if I ask a few questions about the fundraiser?" Noah nodded, maintaining his professional smile. "Of course. It's unusual to see a CEO of your stature at a small-town event like this." Sarah observed, pen poised. "What brought Blackwell Industries to our corner of the coast?" "Community investment is a core value," Noah answered smoothly. "When we heard about Maeve O'Connor's work here, we wanted to help." Sarah's questions continued, each one slightly more probing than the last. She asked about local development, past corporate initiatives, the town's economic history. Noah kept his responses measured and positive, but something in her tone made him uneasy. The afternoon wore on. Children played ring toss with Danny, their laughter mixing with the band's folk music. Lily sold the last of her bouquets, tucking the money into an envelope for the center's fund. At the pie auction, Mrs. Peterson's famous apple crumble sparked a bidding war that had everyone laughing. Noah won it with an outrageous bid, then immediately donated it to the children's after-school program, earning appreciative chuckles from the crowd. Sammy found him later, tiger face slightly smudged, clutching a sticky candy apple. "Mom says you're staying at the inn tonight," he said, eyes bright with curiosity. "Will you read me a story tomorrow? The one about the dinosaur?" "If your mum says it's okay," Noah replied, ruffling the boy's hair. As dusk approached, the crowd thinned. Volunteers began breaking down tables while the band played their final songs. Noah helped fold chairs, noting how natural it felt now, this physical work, this community involvement. His phone buzzed in his pocket. The screen showed Marcus Chen's name, his head of legal affairs. Noah stepped away from the cleanup, finding a quiet spot behind the center. "Marcus, what couldn't wait until Monday?" The lawyer's voice was clipped. "The Journal got hold of documents from Ebo 2, the Harrison Mill closure. They're asking questions about downstream effects on coastal towns." Noah's stomach clenched. He remembered that decision, one of his first as CEO, following his father's playbook. Close the unprofitable mill, redirect resources to newer facilities. Simple business logic that had felt so clean on paper. How bad? Bad enough. Reporters connecting dots between the closure and local business failures, including some flower shop that went under that same year. Noah watched Lily across the lawn, helping Sammy pack up his art supplies. The flower shop had been her parents' legacy. He'd known the mill closure would affect local businesses, but he hadn't let himself know how personal those effects would be. "I'll need the full brief," he said quietly. "Send everything to my secure email." Ending the call, Noah returned to help with cleanup. Inside the center's office, Maeve and Lily sat counting the day's receipts, their faces glowing with satisfaction. "Final total, including matches?" Lily looked up, eyes bright. $32,415. "That's incredible," Noah said, genuine joy mixing with his growing unease. "Enough for repairs and the winter heating bill," Maeve declared, plus some for the children's program. They finished counting as night fell. Volunteers drifted away with tired waves and promises to help again. Sammy had fallen asleep on a stack of folding chairs, his tiger face now thoroughly smudged. "I'll get him home," Lily said softly. "Noah, thank you. For everything today." He watched her gather her sleeping son, wanting to say more but held back by the weight of what he'd learned. The old mill's shadow seemed to stretch across years, across lives, touching everything in ways he was only beginning to understand. "The inn's all ready for you," Maeve told him, locking up the center. "Meeting's at 10 tomorrow. The town council wants to discuss expansion plans for the after-school program now that we have funding." Noah nodded, helping her with the last of the cleanup. The autumn night had turned cool, stars appearing in the darkening sky. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, but for now he let himself feel the day's success. Measured not in corporate metrics, but in children's laughter, in community spirit, in the way Lily had smiled when the final total was announced. The reporter's questions lingered like autumn leaves waiting for a storm, but that was tomorrow's concern. Tonight the town slept easier, its community center's future a little more secure, while Noah walked to the inn carrying Mrs. Peterson's second-best pie, a peace offering for tomorrow's meeting. Sunday morning sunlight streamed through Lily's kitchen windows, warming the countertops where fresh-baked muffins cooled on wire racks. The scent of cinnamon and nutmeg filled the small space as Sammy, still in his dinosaur pajamas, carefully sprinkled brown sugar over the next batch. "Like this, Mom?" he asked, tongue poking out in concentration. "Perfect, honey." Lily smiled, measuring more flour. The doorbell chimed, and Noah stood awkwardly on the porch, holding a bag of oranges. "I thought juice might be nice," he said, stepping into the kitchen's warmth. "For the volunteers." Lily nodded, directing him to the juicer. There was something oddly domestic about watching Noah Blackwell roll up his sleeves and to tackle fresh oranges, his expensive watch carefully set aside. "Mr. Noah, want to see my dinosaur book later?" Sammy asked, abandoning his sugar-sprinkling duties. "After we finish the muffins?" Noah replied, already learning the art of parental negotiation. They worked in comfortable silence, broken by Sammy's occasional commentary on proper muffin-making technique. Noah's phone buzzed several times, but he left it face down on the counter. "These actually smell amazing," Noah admitted, helping to pack the cooled muffins into containers. The peaceful morning shattered when Lily's phone lit up with a text from Maeve. "Check your email, now." The regional news website's headline hit like a punch. "Small Town Revival or Corporate Repeat. Blackwell Industries' History of Community Impact." Lily's hands shook as she scanned the article. The reporter had dug deep, connecting dots between the Harrison Mill closure and the cascade of local business failures that followed. Her parents' flower shop was mentioned by name. Noah's phone erupted with calls. He stepped onto the porch to answer one, his face tightening as he listened. Through the window, Lily watched him pace, gesturing sharply. "Sammy, honey, go get dressed," she said quietly. "We need to head to the center early." By 10:30, the town was buzzing. Neighbors gathered in small clusters on street corners, phones out, sharing the article. Maeve's text announced an emergency meeting at 11. The community center's main room filled quickly. Noah arrived last, his face drawn. He'd changed into a suit, CEO armor. Lily thought bitterly. "Is it true?" Mrs. Peterson demanded as soon as he entered. "The mill closure. That was your company?" "It's complicated," Noah began, but voices rose in protest. Maeve called for order. "We'll address this properly at 6. For now, let's focus on facts, not speculation." But the facts were damning enough. Lily read through the article again, seeing her family's story laid bare in black and white. The flower shop's closure had been a footnote in Blackwell Industries' strategic restructuring, but it had meant everything to her parents. Noah tried to catch her eye, but she avoided his gaze. Her phone showed message notifications from the reporter requesting comment on her connection to both the victim and perpetrator sides of this story. The morning crawled by in a haze of hurt and anger. Around 2, Lily found herself alone with Noah in the center's kitchen. He was making coffee, such a normal thing in such an abnormal moment. "Lily, I need to explain," he started. "Did you know?" She interrupted. "When you came here, did you know about my parents' shop?" Noah's hesitation was answer enough. "I learned recently," he admitted. "I wanted to find the right way to tell you." "The right way?" Lily's laugh was harsh. "There is no right way to say, 'Sorry, my company destroyed your family's livelihood.' It wasn't that simple. The mill was losing money." "Don't." Lily held up her hand. "Don't give me corporate speak. Not now." They stood in tense silence, coffee forgotten. "All this," Lily gestured around the center. "The volunteering, the fundraiser. Was it just damage control? Get ahead of the story." "No." Noah's voice cracked. "Lily, you have to believe—" "I don't have to believe anything." She cut him off. "You came here knowing what your company did. You played with my son, helped with homework, all while holding this secret." Through the window, they could see volunteers setting up chairs for the evening meeting. The community would gather again, this time not in celebration but in concern and anger. "I should have told you," Noah said quietly. "Yes, you should have." Lily straightened her shoulders. "The meeting's at 6. I suggest you prepare better answers than 'it's complicated.'" She left him standing in the kitchen, the smell of burnt coffee filling the air. Outside, autumn wind whipped dead leaves across the center's lawn, and dark clouds gathered on the horizon. In her shop, Lily found the old photograph she'd kept hidden in a drawer. Teenage Noah and herself on the pier, summer golden and full of dreams. She tucked it away again, under receipts and order forms, where it belonged. The afternoon stretched ahead, hours until the meeting that would determine the center's relationship with Blackwell Industries. Lily busied herself with inventory, trying not to think about Noah's face when she'd confronted him, or how Sammy would ask about dinosaur stories that wouldn't come anymore. At 3:30, Maeve stopped by with paperwork for the evening meeting. She found Lily arranging flowers with sharp, angry movements. "Sometimes," the older woman said gently, "the hardest wounds to heal are the ones that come wrapped in good intentions." Lily just nodded, focusing on the roses in her hands, their thorns pressing against her fingers as the afternoon light faded and 6 o'clock approached. At 6 o'clock sharp, fluorescent lights hummed over the community center's gymnasium. Metal chairs scraped against the floor as residents filed in, their whispers echoing off the walls. The local press huddled near the front, cameras ready. Maeve stood at the podium, her usual warmth replaced by stern authority. "Let's maintain order," she said, tapping her gavel. "We're here to discuss facts, not throw accusations." Noah sat rigid in his chair, his suit jacket a shield against hostile stares. Lily chose a seat across the room, Sammy beside her, clutching his dinosaur book. "Mr. Blackwell?" Mrs. Peterson stood first, brandishing her phone. "This article says your company's decisions led to dozens of local businesses failing. What do you have to say for yourself?" Noah rose slowly, adjusting his tie. "I understand your anger. Do you?" Someone shouted. "My brother lost everything!" Maeve's gavel cracked. "One at a time, please." Noah cleared his throat. "I wasn't CEO when those decisions were made. I inherited—" "But you benefited," Danny Ruiz interrupted, standing. "While our families struggled, your stock prices soared." More voices joined in, years of resentment bubbling over. Noah's composure cracked slightly, his hands gripping the chair in front of him. "Please," he tried again. "I'm here to help, to make amends." "With what?" someone called. "A publicity stunt wedding package?" Lily watched Noah's face fall, saw the genuine hurt there. Part of her wanted to defend him, the man who'd spent hours helping Sammy with homework, who'd painted benches without complaint. But then old Mr. Jenkins shuffled forward, holding a yellowed newspaper clipping. "Remember this?" His hand shook as he read. "Blackwell Industries announces strategic restructuring." That's what they called it when they closed the factory. "My grandson still can't find work here." The clipping passed through the crowd, reaching Lily. There, in stark black and white, was the story of her parents' flower shop, just one casualty in a long list of businesses that failed after the closure. "My father worked 60 hours a week," she found herself saying, standing slowly. The room hushed. He built that shop from nothing. When the factory closed, all his regular customers left town. Within a year, we lost everything. Noah turned to her, his face pale. "Lily, No." Her voice stayed steady. "I believed you were here to help. I let my son get attached to you. But this—" She held up the article. "This is who you really are. Your company's actions destroyed lives, and now you're using us for good PR." "That's not true," Noah protested. "The donation, the fundraiser, those were real." "Were they?" Lily met his eyes. "Or were they damage control before this story broke?" The silence hung heavy. Camera shutters clicked. "I cannot accept charity from Blackwell Industries," Lily announced clearly. "Not now, knowing what I know." Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. Noah stood frozen, his carefully constructed world of redemption crumbling. Maeve stepped in. "Perhaps we should take a brief recess." "No need," Noah said quietly. "I understand." He gathered his coat, dignity barely intact. "I'll look into these matters personally. You have my word." "Your word." Someone laughed harshly. "Like the word your company gave before the closure?" Noah walked out, shoulders straight but steps hurried. Through the window, Lily watched him cross the parking lot, disappearing into the growing darkness. The meeting continued, but the energy had shifted. People shared more stories of hardship, of dreams destroyed by corporate decisions made in far-off boardrooms. Lily listened, her heart heavy with old and new pain. Sammy tugged her sleeve. "Is Mr. Noah not coming back?" "I don't know, honey," she whispered, pulling him close. Later, as volunteers stacked chairs, Maeve found Lily sorting through donation records. "He's staying at the inn," Maeve said quietly. "Called to extend his reservation. Says he wants to investigate the company records himself." Lily nodded stiffly, focusing on the papers. "You know," Maeve continued, "sometimes the hardest thing is seeing both sides clearly, the past and the present, the hurt and the healing. There aren't two sides to this," Lily insisted. "His company hurt people. He hid the truth?" "Did he?" Maeve raised an eyebrow. "Or did he come here trying to make it right in his own clumsy way?" Lily had no answer. Outside, a car door slammed, probably Noah leaving for his late-night flight back to the city. But Maeve shook her head. "He cancelled his flight. Says he's staying until he gets to the bottom of this." The news settled uncomfortably in Lily's chest. She thought of Noah's face when she'd rejected him publicly, the mixture of shame and determination in his eyes. In the quiet gym, under flickering fluorescent lights, Lily gathered her things. Sammy's dinosaur book lay forgotten on a chair, the one where Noah usually sat during story time. She picked it up, running her fingers over the worn cover. The town's anger was justified, the pain real. But as she walked home through the autumn night, Lily couldn't shake the memory of Noah's gentle patience with Sammy, his genuine effort to help the center, the way he'd looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching, like he was trying to bridge an impossible gap. At home, she found the donation envelope from Blackwell Industries still on her counter. Tomorrow, she'd have to return it, make the rejection official. But tonight, she let herself remember the man who'd painted benches and read stories, who'd seemed so different from the corporate giant whose name had haunted her family's past. Noah sat alone in his inn-room, the desk lamp casting shadows across scattered papers. His laptop screen glowed with spreadsheets, while his phone buzzed with ignored messages from the board. It was 2 a.m., and he hadn't slept since the meeting. "Access granted," flashed across his screen. His legal contact had come through, providing entry to Blackwell Industries' archived records. Noah's fingers trembled slightly as he typed in the password. He scrolled through years of corporate minutes, searching for the factory closure decision. The room felt too small, too quiet. He loosened his tie, pushed up his sleeves, and kept reading. There, meeting minutes from March 2013. His own name jumped out at him. Committee Chair, Noah Blackwell. The language was sterile, corporate. Strategic realignment of manufacturing assets. Cost-benefit analysis indicates projected savings of... But between the lines lay the truth. He'd been 38 then, eager to prove himself worthy of the Blackwell name. The company had been hemorrhaging money, and the board wanted decisive action. He'd studied the numbers, listened to consultants, and made what seemed like the only logical choice. Noah pulled up employee records. 217 workers. Not just numbers now, names filled his screen. Johnson, Martinez, Peterson. Hart, Lily's father's flower shop, appeared in a list of indirect impact assessments. Jesus," he whispered, rubbing his eyes. He found the original proposal in his email archives. His younger self had written confidently about necessary market adjustments and shareholder value. The words made him sick now. A deeper search revealed more. The factory closure had triggered a cascade. Small businesses failed, property values plummeted, young families moved away. The community centre, Maeve's pride and joy, had nearly closed twice. Dawn crept in through the window as Noah discovered something else. Recent emails between current board members and Costa Development Group. Plans for luxury condos where the old factory stood. The same developer eyeing the land near the community centre. History repeating itself. He muttered. Noah opened a new document and began to type. To the residents of Port Haven. He backspaced. Too formal. I owe you the truth. He wrote instead. 10 years ago I chaired the committee that closed the factory. I was young, ambitious, and wrong. The decision was mine, and the consequences were devastating. He detailed the closure's impact, naming specific businesses and families affected. No corporate speak, no hedging, just facts and responsibility. Then he outlined his proposal. A trust fund for affected families. Seed money for small business revival. Legal protection for the community centre's land. His personal shares in the company as collateral. The sun was fully up when he finished. His eyes burned, his back ached, but the statement felt right. Honest. He printed it, along with supporting documents showing his personal stake in making amends. Noah checked his watch. 9:47 a.m. He had just enough time to shower and change before heading to the centre. The board would hate this. He'd probably lose his position. But looking at Lily's father's name in those records, remembering her face last night, he knew it was the only choice. He gathered the papers carefully, tucking them into his briefcase. A text from his assistant warned of serious board concerns and PR disaster potential. He turned off his phone. In the bathroom mirror, Noah looked at himself. Really looked. Grey threads in his hair, lines around his eyes, the weight of decisions past and present in his expression. He thought of younger Noah, so sure of his path. Of Lily's father, losing everything he'd built. Of Sammy, who deserved to grow up in a town that still had hope. He straightened his tie. No power suit today, just simple business casual. The statement felt heavy in his briefcase as he headed downstairs. Martha, the inn's owner, offered him coffee. Rough night? She asked, noting his exhausted face. Long overdue research, he replied, accepting the cup gratefully. You know, Martha said, wiping the counter. My Henry always said the measure of a man isn't in never making mistakes. It's in what he does to fix them. Noah nodded, thinking of the statement waiting in his briefcase. Your Henry was wise. He lost his job at that factory. Martha added quietly. But he never lost his belief in doing right. The coffee suddenly tasted bitter. Noah set it down, reaching for his wallet. On the house. Martha waved him off. Just do right by them this time. Noah stepped out into the late morning sun. The community centre was 6 blocks away. He could see its worn brick facade from here, the children's drawings in the windows, the small garden Lily tended. His phone buzzed again in his pocket. Probably the board's lawyers now, sensing trouble. He left it unanswered and started walking, rehearsing the words he'd written in his head. Not for PR, not for image restoration, but for the truth they all deserved. A young boy rode past on a bicycle, about Sammy's age. The sight made Noah's chest tighten. He thought of all the other children who'd left town after the closure, of futures altered by decisions made in boardrooms far away. The morning was quiet, most shops just opening. He passed the space where Lily's father's flower shop had been, now a discount store. Through the window, He could see dusty artificial flowers, a pale imitation of Lily's vibrant arrangements. Noah checked his watch again. 11:15 a.m. 45 minutes until he'd face the town again. The statement felt like it was burning a hole in his briefcase. But for the first time since the scandal broke, he felt steady, clear. The truth wasn't pretty, but it was a start. He'd own his part in their pain, and then, if they'd let him, he'd help write a different ending to this story. The quilts cast soft shadows on the community center's back room walls. Noah shifted in the wooden chair, aware of every creak in the floorboards as Lily settled across from him. Morning light filtered through dusty windows, catching dust motes in its beam. "You wanted to talk," Lily said quietly. Her fingers traced the edge of the worn table between them. Noah nodded, opening his briefcase. The papers inside were creased from his constant reviewing. "I spent all night going through records," he began, his voice hoarse from lack of sleep. "I found everything." The coffee pot burbled in the distance, its familiar scent mixing with the musty sweetness of old books lining the shelves. A child's laughter echoed from somewhere in the building, then faded. 10 years ago, Noah continued, spreading documents across the table. "I chaired the committee that closed the factory. I was 38, newly promoted, eager to prove myself." He met her eyes. "I made the wrong choice." Lily's face remained carefully neutral, but her hands had stilled on the table's edge. The decision was presented as necessary for corporate survival. Numbers, projections, market analysis. He pushed forward a yellowed memo. "My signature is there, authorizing the closure." "I remember that day," Lily said, her voice tight. "The whistle didn't sound that afternoon. People just walked out, carrying boxes." Noah swallowed hard. "I've prepared a statement." He lifted a printed page, the words he'd labored over all night. "Not for PR, for truth." He read slowly, acknowledging his role in the committee, detailing the impact on local families. His voice caught when he reached the statistics. 200 jobs lost, 38 businesses closed within a year, 63 families relocated. Lily stood abruptly, walking to a filing cabinet. She returned with a manila envelope, worn at the edges. "While you were counting numbers," she said, pulling out papers, "this was happening." She laid them out one by one. An eviction notice, the paper thin from folding and refolding. A scholarship application for Sammy, the financial need section filled with careful detail. A photograph of her mother, grey-haired and determined, holding a protest sign outside the factory gates. "Mom died 6 months after the closure," Lily said. "The stress, the doctors said." Her fingers trembled on the photograph. Dad held on 3 more years, trying to keep the flower shop open, but without the factory workers' orders. Noah reached for the eviction notice, reading the date. "You were 24. With a 2-year-old. Lily's laugh held no humor. "Do you know what it's like, explaining to a toddler why you're moving to a smaller apartment? Why Grandpa's flowers are in dumpsters?" Noah pushed his statement aside, laying out new documents. "I can't undo what happened, but I can try to make it right." He outlined his proposal. A trust fund for affected families, $5 million initial investment, legal protection for the center's land, ironclad covenants, job training programs, small business revival grants. More corporate promises. Lily's voice was sharp. "My personal guarantee." Noah produced stock certificates, property deeds. "Everything I own as collateral. I'll step down as CEO if that's what it takes." Lily stared at the papers, then at him. A tear slipped down her cheek. She brushed it away angrily. "Why now?" "Because I see now what I couldn't then. The human cost behind corporate decisions. He gestured to Sammy's scholarship form. Because that little boy deserves better than cleaning up our generation's mistakes. The silence stretched between them, broken only by distant voices and the hum of the ancient heating system. "What do you want from me?" Lily finally asked. "Nothing. This isn't conditional. The offer stands regardless of—" He paused. "Regardless of us. The town deserves restitution." Lily gathered her documents slowly, handling her mother's photograph with special care. "I need to talk to Maeve," she said. "The community needs to decide, together." Noah nodded. "The town meeting's at 7. I'll present everything then." "I won't be your PR story," Lily warned. "No photos of the grateful recipient forgiving the corporate titan. That's not what this is about. Isn't it?" She stood, straightening her sweater. "You show up at a charity gala, buy a wedding package, discover it's me, and suddenly you're full of remorse." The remorse was always there. Noah said quietly, "I just didn't know where to start making amends." Lily paused at the door, her hand on the frame. "Start with the truth," she said. "No corporate speak, no PR spin, just the truth. That's what tonight's about." She nodded once, then left. The door closed softly behind her, leaving Noah alone with his documents and the watching quilts. He gathered the papers slowly, organizing them for the evening's presentation. His phone buzzed, another message from the board, no doubt. He ignored it. Through the window, he could see Lily crossing the playground to the center's main building. She stopped to help a small girl on the swings, pushing gently. The child's laughter carried faintly through the glass. Noah thought of other children who should have been on those swings, the ones who'd left town, following parents to new jobs, new lives. His decisions had scattered them like leaves in autumn. The coffee smell had faded, leaving only dust and old books. Noah stood, his joints stiff from sitting. 7 hours until the meeting. 7 hours to find the right words to offer more than money, to offer genuine hope for healing. Behind him, the quilts hung silent, generations of stories stitched into their patterns. He touched one gently. A wedding ring design, he realized. The irony wasn't lost on him. He gathered his briefcase, straightened his tie, and headed for the door. The truth waited to be told. The community center's gymnasium buzzed with tension. Metal folding chairs creaked under the weight of what seemed like the entire town. Local reporters huddled near the walls, notebooks ready. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across worried faces. Noah stood at the podium, his hands steady despite his racing heart. His statement lay before him, printed on cream letterhead. No corporate logo, just plain text. Lily sat in the front row, her posture rigid, expression carefully neutral. Beside her, Maeve's face held the stern patience of a judge. "Thank you for coming," Noah began, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "I'm here to address the article about Blackwell Industries' role in this community's hardships. But more importantly, I'm here to admit my personal responsibility." A ripple of whispers swept through the crowd. In the back, a corporate lawyer half rose, but Noah waved him down. 10 years ago, I chaired the committee that approved the factory closure. The decision was presented as necessary for corporate survival. The numbers made sense on paper. He paused, meeting Lily's eyes briefly. What didn't show in those spreadsheets were the human costs, the lost jobs, the broken families, the dreams deferred. "Pretty words don't pay bills," someone called out. Maeve rapped her gavel. "Let him finish." Noah lifted a thick folder. "These aren't just words. This is a legally binding proposal for restitution." He outlined the details. A $5 million trust fund for affected families, ironclad covenants protecting the community center's land from development, job training programs, small business revival grants. From the second row, Evelyn Blake, Blackwell Industries' PR director, stood abruptly. Mr. Blackwell hasn't consulted the board about these commitments. They're not officially. They're backed by my personal assets. Noah cut in. My shares, my properties, everything I own as collateral. And if the town deems it necessary, I'll step down as CEO. The gymnasium erupted in shocked conversation. Reporters' cameras clicked rapidly. The board won't allow... Evelyn started. The board doesn't have a choice. Noah said firmly. This isn't about corporate approval. This is about personal accountability. Danny Ruiz, the center's maintenance manager, raised his hand. How do we know this isn't just damage control? Fair question. Noah set aside his prepared statement. When I bought that wedding package at the gala, I thought I was solving a PR problem. Coming here, seeing this community, seeing the real impact of decisions I made from a boardroom, changed everything. He gestured to the worn gymnasium walls. This center represents everything corporate decisions ignored. Community, dignity, human connection. The least I can do is ensure it survives and thrives. An elderly woman stood slowly. My grandson had to leave town after the closure. His whole future gone. The trust fund includes college scholarships. Noah responded. For any affected family's children or grandchildren. No time limit. Questions flew. About implementation, oversight, guarantees. Noah answered each one, referring to specific legal clauses. The documents circulated through the crowd, page after page of binding commitments. Evelyn made one last attempt. The shareholders. We'll understand that ethical business means facing consequences. Noah interrupted. Or they can find another CEO. A low murmur of approval rippled through the room. Maeve studied Noah over her reading glasses, then turned to the assembly. I move we form a committee to review and implement these proposals. Community members, legal experts, affected families. I'll second that. Danny called out. All in favor? Maeve asked. Hands rose steadily across the room. Motion carries, she declared. Committee members to be nominated by next week's meeting. People began standing, forming small clusters of discussion. Noah gathered his papers, aware of eyes still watching him. A few townspeople approached cautiously, offering tentative handshakes. My father worked that assembly line for 30 years. One man said gruffly, This won't bring those jobs back, but it's something. It's a start. Noah agreed quietly. More came forward. A former union representative, a retired teacher, a young mother who'd been a teenager during the closure. Each had a story, a memory, a cautious hope. Lily waited by the gymnasium door as the crowd thinned. Noah approached her slowly, his briefcase heavy with promises. Actions, not words? She said simply. He nodded. I'd like to stay in town. Start the work immediately. The inn has monthly rates, she replied. It wasn't acceptance, but it wasn't rejection either. Outside, the autumn evening had turned cool. Stars pricked through the darkening sky, and somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Normal sounds of a small town settling into night. Noah watched Lily walk toward her car, where Sammy waited with a babysitter. The boy waved, and after a moment's hesitation, Noah waved back. His phone buzzed, likely the board's reaction to his announcement. He silenced it without looking. Tomorrow would bring its own battles, shareholder concerns, legal challenges, the complex work of turning promises into reality. But tonight, standing in the parking lot of a small town community center, Noah felt lighter than he had in years. The truth had weight, but lies had been heavier. A few residents lingered, talking in low voices. Someone had brought coffee in a thermos, and the smell drifted across the cooling air. From inside the gymnasium came the scrape of folding chairs being put away. Danny and his volunteers, already preparing for tomorrow's activities. Noah took a deep breath of the salt-tinged air. The work ahead would be hard, but for the first time in a decade, it felt like the right kind of hard. Not the artificial difficulty of corporate maneuvering, but the honest challenge of making amends. He turned toward the inn, his footsteps echoing on the quiet street. Behind him, the community center's lights glowed warm against the gathering dark, a beacon of what could be preserved, what could be rebuilt, one careful step at a time. 2 weeks passed like water flowing over stones, steady, persistent, changing the landscape in small but significant ways. Noah established the trust fund within 3 days, working late into the night with lawyers to ensure ironclad protections. $5 million placed in community control, with clear guidelines for educational scholarships and small business grants. The paperwork filled an entire table at the center, and Maeve scrutinized every page before signing. "This isn't charity," Noah explained to the oversight committee. "It's restoration." Danny supervised Noah's attempts at physical labor with a mix of amusement and growing respect. "Hold the trowel like this," he demonstrated, showing Noah how to repair crumbling mortar. "Steady pressure, not too much water." Noah's first attempts were messy, but he stayed until his hands blistered. When Danny offered him work gloves, their eyes met in understanding. "Tomorrow we'll tackle the west wall," Danny said. The apprenticeship program took shape through meetings with local trade schools. Noah insisted on practical skills, electrical work, plumbing, sustainable construction. "Jobs that can't be outsourced," he explained to Lily over coffee one morning. "Jobs that build community." Sammy's school play, The Wizard of Oz, brought unexpected joy. Noah sat in the back row, watching the third grader perform as the Cowardly Lion. When Sammy spotted him afterward, the boy ran over with his costume mane askew. "Did you see when I got my courage?" Sammy asked excitedly. "You were the bravest lion I've ever seen," Noah replied, and meant it. Domestic moments accumulated like shells on a beach. Noah fixed the center's ancient sink, while Lily made peppermint tea. Their conversations stayed practical, budgets, schedules, community needs, but sometimes old memories slipped through. "Remember that summer carnival?" Lily asked once, passing him a wrench. "When the Ferris wheel stuck?" 2 hours at the top. Noah smiled. "Best view in town. Until the storm came," she added, and they both laughed. Late at night, Noah wrote letters he never sent. They filled a drawer in his inn-room, confessions, apologies, memories of young love and foolish choices. Instead of mailing them, he channeled that energy into action. Each morning brought new tasks, reviewing construction permits, coordinating volunteers, learning the names of every regular at the center. The old pier became his thinking spot. One evening, as sunset painted the water gold, he found the postcard he'd bought 15 years ago but never mailed. The image showed the town in summer glory. The lighthouse, the busy harbor, children playing on the beach. On the back, his younger self had written, "I made the wrong choice. I'm sorry, I never stopped loving you." He left it on Lily's desk at the center, tucked under a stack of funding proposals. That afternoon, he saw her reading it in the garden, tears falling quietly. She didn't mention it, but the next day she brought him coffee without being asked. The center's reopening celebration filled the gymnasium with laughter and hope. Children played tag between the newly painted walls, while parents admired the restored murals. The kitchen served Maeve's famous apple cake, and Danny's band played soft folk music. Lily's speech was brief but powerful. "Communities aren't built on grand gestures," she said, standing at the podium. "They're built on daily choices, on showing up, on doing the hard work even when no one's watching. This center stands because people chose to stay, to help, to believe in second chances. She didn't look at Noah directly, but her words found him anyway. Throughout the 2 weeks, Sammy became a constant presence, shadowing Noah during repairs, asking endless questions about tools and techniques. Lily watched these interactions carefully, her protective instincts warring with the evidence of Noah's gentle patience. "Why did you leave before?" Sammy asked one day, helping Noah sort nails. Noah paused, choosing his words carefully. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes because they're scared of the right choice." "Are you still scared?" "No," Noah answered. "Now I'm scared of making the wrong choice again." The trust's legal covenants included protection for the center's land and the surrounding block. Noah added a clause requiring any future development to include affordable housing and community spaces. When he showed Lily the final document, she traced the words with her finger. "This protects Sammy's future," she said quietly. "Thank you." Small victories accumulated. A new heating system installed, art supplies funded for after-school programs, a community garden planted behind the kitchen. Noah learned to measure progress in smiles, in casual greetings from former skeptics, in the way Maeve started saving him a morning muffin. At night, walking back to the inn, he'd pass Lily's flower shop. Sometimes the lights would be on late, and he'd see her arranging bouquets, Sammy doing homework at the counter. The scene tugged at his heart, not just with romantic longing, but with appreciation for the life she'd built, the strength she'd shown. The celebration ended with Sammy falling asleep on a stack of folding chairs, his lion costume still partially on. Noah helped Lily carry him to her car, careful not to wake him. "You're doing good work," she said, closing the car door softly. "I'm trying," Noah replied. "I know." She hesitated, then added, "That's what matters." The next 3 days would bring more work, more challenges, more small steps toward redemption. But standing in the parking lot, watching Lily drive away with their sleeping son, though she hadn't told him yet, Noah felt the first real stirrings of hope. Not for quick forgiveness or easy solutions, but for the chance to rebuild something genuine, one day at a time. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the beach. Noah stood at the shoreline, hands in his pockets, watching gulls dive into the surf. Behind him, the old lighthouse stood sentinel, its white paint weathered by decades of salt spray. This was where they'd made promises 15 years ago, young, fearless, and certain about forever. Lily approached, her footsteps quiet in the sand. She wore a simple sweater against the autumn chill, her hair loose in the breeze. They stood side by side, watching the waves. "I remember everything about that summer," Noah said softly. "The carnival, the storm, the promises we made right here." "We were different people then," Lily replied, wrapping her arms around herself. "I was afraid," Noah admitted, turning to face her. "Not just then. These past weeks, too. Afraid of failing again, of hurting you and Sammy, of not being enough." A seagull landed nearby, pecking at the sand. Lily watched it, giving herself time to respond. "Fear isn't an excuse." "No," Noah agreed. "It's an explanation, not a justification. I let ambition blind me. When the board pressured me to leave last week, I realized what mattered. Not the stock price or the headlines, but this town, this community. You and Sammy." The wind carried the scent of salt and seaweed. Somewhere down the beach, children laughed, their voices carried on the breeze. "Forgiveness isn't simple," Lily said. "It's not just about grand gestures or legal documents, it's daily work." "I know. I'm ready for that work, Lily. Not just with the center or the trust fund. With us, if you'll let me try." She turned to study his face. "What about Sammy? He's not a prop in your redemption story, Noah. He's my whole world. He's remarkable, Noah said softly. Smart, kind, curious. I want to be in his life, but I know I can't buy my way into being his father. That has to be earned, if it happens at all. He asks about you, Lily admitted. When you're not at the center, he notices. That terrifies me. Tell me what you need, Noah said. What would make you feel secure about his future? Lily took a deep breath. Time. Consistency. No rushed decisions or public spectacles. If we explore this, we do it slowly, with clear boundaries. And I want us to see a family counselor, all of us, including Sammy. He needs to have a voice in this too. The sun dipped lower, painting the waves in gold and rose. A small fishing boat chugged past, heading for harbor. The wedding package, Noah said carefully. I was thinking, not the big hotel event they planned. Something smaller, more meaningful. Here, at the center, with the community. Only if and when we're ready. And Sammy? He'd be central to everything. Not just the ceremony, the whole process. His comfort, his adjustment, his happiness comes first. Lily picked up a smooth stone, turning it over in her hands. What about your work? The company? I've restructured my role. More remote work, fewer travels. I've bought a house in town. Not to pressure you, but to show I'm committed to being here. The corporate politics, the endless acquisitions, I'm done letting that drive my choices. You say that now, Lily said, but her voice held less doubt than before. Test me, Noah replied. Give me time to prove it. I'm not asking for immediate trust. I'm asking for a chance to earn it. They walked along the waterline, the wet sand firm beneath their feet. A hermit crab scuttled past, and Lily smiled, remembering how Sammy collected their shells. I need you to understand something, she said finally. If we do this, if we try, it's not about the past. We can't recreate what we had at 18. We need to build something new, something honest. Based on who we are now. Noah agreed. Partners, equals. Building a future that honors the community and puts Sammy first. The lighthouse beam swept across the darkening water. Lily stopped walking, facing Noah directly. Yes, she said simply. Yes? Yes to trying. Yes to counseling. Yes to taking it slow and doing it right. Not yes to forever, not yet. But yes to the possibility. Noah's smile was gentle, relieved. That's more than enough. Several weeks later, the community center glowed with lantern light. Maeve stood before the gathered town, her voice carrying clearly through the renovated space. Sammy, dressed in a neat suit, handed Noah a simple bouquet of wildflowers and roses from Lily's shop. The ceremony was brief, focused on community and family rather than spectacle. Their vows spoke of second chances, of choosing to stay, of building something lasting from the fragments of the past. When Lily and Noah kissed, the applause was genuine, not for a fairy tale ending, but for the honest work of redemption and the promise of new beginnings. As dusk settled over the town, the center's windows spilled warm light onto the garden where Noah and Lily danced slowly. Sammy weaved between the guests, collecting hugs and cookies. Maeve watched from her favorite chair, satisfaction in her eyes. The restored building stood as testament to what they'd built together. Not just repairs and fresh paint, but trust, accountability, and the careful foundation of a shared future. In the growing darkness, the lanterns glowed like stars brought down to earth, lighting the way forward.